over at home. We were at the shop earlier today where we unboxed a lot of Nodachi and some other pretty cool swords. The coolest sword that we unboxed, I just brought it back home. So people, if you are interested in seeing what I think is probably, people ask what is our most expensive sword in shop. Well, this is our most expensive sword in shop besides antiques for a modern sword. So for those of you who have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, this is a true meteor sword. Hey, Steve. So you can see here it has those symbols. And then look there, it has the white lotus symbol that you would see in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And yes, Cook, I did bring the meteorite home. Actually, I think somebody said they already wanted it. I sent them the link, and we'll see if they actually buy it or not. So anyway, check this out. Hey, Jill. Since I have the bright light in the background now, you can probably see the patterns in the steel a lot better. And it is absolutely magnificent. Just what the meteorite does. So this is a meteorite jacket, and so it's Sanmai style, and it basically by that is a hard core steel, and then they weld meteorite iron to the back. And meteorites, because there's so many impurities in it, they tend to end up looking very weird, just like really weird patterns in them. So yeah, this is once again a meteorite Saka sword. This one is $2,000. It is currently the most expensive sword that we have in shop, and I really do love these bright lights that I have set up. This bright light because you can definitely see the pattern in it. Worth it, yeah, definitely. Most meteorite swords you're looking at least $3,000 to $4,000. If this was all meteorite, you're talking about $10,000 to $20,000 just because of. Really, those are really cool looking swords. The full meteorites I've seen, they just have this really interesting gray color. And once again, you can see how it has this really like light gray and really interesting patterns. I watched the live stream recorded on YouTube. I missed the live. Yeah, oh, sorry about that, Jill. So anyway, yeah, and check out the fittings. And for those of you who do like Avatar: The Last Airbender, we did have the white lotus symbol carved on the pommel. Yeah. You guys are the best. Thank you. Yeah. But anyway, this is one of the new things that we got in. The other thing that we got in were we got a lot of long swords in. We got them both in SX105V, and also S5. SX105V is going to be your cutting steel. That's if you want to go practice cutting, like cutting targets. Versus the S5 is more for beating the smack out of stuff. Me on my way to pay money to buy the Saka sword. Maybe someday I'll get a space sword. Yeah. If this one sells, I've actually already lined up to get 2 more from Heaven and Earth. I think it's pretty cool. Well, we're going to change Heaven and Earth's name. I think we're going to call it Dragon Spring Swords. Hey, at least it's recorded so I see it. Yeah, so that's one of the cool things we're able to do with YouTube right now, is that we do get to record the lives. Though it's usually me saying the same things over and over again. Though today, once again, being inside the shop and unboxing, we were showing a lot of cool new stuff. Heaven and Earth is kind of famous, or I shouldn't say famous, but in terms of what we sell, it's usually their low-end stuff. And he was very adamant when I was talking to him a few months ago that they can do better. And I was like, okay, let's see what you can do. So he sent me 3 swords. I had to pay for them. But they sent him 3 swords that are really well wrapped, really good tight wrap, very beautiful polish. It's a pear skin polish, just really well done. New fittings. So there's a lot of detail in them. So we will be showing those off probably tomorrow when we go live again. Is the Vortex a good cutting sword? Yes, it's a good cutting sword, especially for a beginner. Website says it's sold out. Guess they bought it. Bad Wolf, that might be me not updating the inventory. It actually might not have anything to do with that. And actually, if you can bear with me here on TikTok, I am going to make sure that I change that over so we know that it is there. Let's see. Bear with me. Yep, I messed that up. And okay, TikTok, sorry about that. I had to go and add that one meteor sword. Thanks for letting me know. But yes, the Moritaka Vortex is a good cutting sword. We've cut a lot with it. So yeah, especially since it's spring steel, it's gonna be good. You're not gonna ruin your sword if you have a bad cut. So that's one of the nice things about spring steel swords. Are there S5 shock steel Kogurasu Maru Tachi Katana in the online store? I'm interested in buying a Kogurasu Maru with S5 shock steel or spring steel for cutting and unsharp for sparring. So Matthew Mine, no. We are going to be getting some Kogurasu, but they are all T10 clay tempered. Actually, it's going to be W2 for Cloudhammer and T10 for Heaven and Earth doing Kogurasu. So we don't have any S5 Kogurasu. I could ask them about making Kogurasu though. Let's see. What made you go into the sword business? Well, I basically had too many swords and just went kind of crazy. Why do most people prefer two-handed swords? No idea. Hey, Vorteca, happy Friday to you too. Let's see. I would recommend the Vortex. The more I like Moritaka spring steel swords. Yeah, thank you, Jill. I think they're really nice. You get a lot for a lot of value for those swords. I mean, for $200, they cut really nicely. And they do a really good job. I mean, in terms of the fit and finish, it's a really nice tight wrap. Not on this one. This is on this Cloudhammer longsword. I was just demonstrating, pantomiming. For those of you just joining in and who might have missed the live earlier, this is one of our newest swords. We just got it today. Actually yesterday, but we unboxed it today. This is an actual Meteorite Hanjian, so it is based on Avatar Last Airbender Sokka sword. But we usually do carry Sokka swords, but out of carbon steel. But this is actually Meteorite involved in this. You have samurai swords? Yes, we do. We have a lot of samurai swords in shop, and here as well. The brown longsword looks great. I just got one. How much are they going for? So the brown longsword. The one that's brown, if it's SX105V, it's 500. If it's S5, it is 850. So S5 is a shock steel. It's basically super durable. Hey, Roy. Let's see. Matthew Mai. Since I was surprised when there was a double-edged curved katana when I discovered Kogurasu Maru. Yeah, Kogurasu Maru is pretty cool. I'm a big fan of them myself. We actually did have a straight Kogurasu for a while, but then one of our long-term customers bought it. And once again, look here, it has the white lotus symbol for those of you who like Avatar The Last Airbender. And I'm going to go ahead and take this out again so I can admire it. But you can see just how beautiful that meteorite pattern is. So what it is that meteorite, when you hammer out the impurities, it just ends up looking really interesting. It has really interesting patterns in it. And this is a meteorite jacket that is laminated to a hard core steel. So this is Sanmai, and it's a pretty nimble sword. And so far, I'm not a big fan of Han Dynasty styles in general for use, but yeah. So anyway, all those people who've joined in on TikTok, I'm going to show this again. This is basically like the Sokka sword from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it does have meteorite on the surface, which is to say the central steel is a hard cutting steel versus the jacket is meteorite. Meteorite makes for very crappy swords in general. So the way they mitigate the issues with it is that this is basically a high, like I think it's a 1060 steel sword, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong about that. A 1060 steel sword, but then they laminate the meteor on either side of it. So. Let's see. Someone just said, was the two-handed Sasanian sword inspired by the Jan or the other way around? I'm actually not familiar with the Sasanian sword, so I couldn't answer that question. I have that sword. I don't think you have this sword. This one is meteorite. What's the meteorite current content compared to the Tachi? This is like, I mean, the Tachi I know is 30% versus this, I think it's all meteorite iron on the jacket. So it's jacketed to a harder core. Show us some Damascus. Well, since we're on the meteorite theme, let me show you a meteorite Damascus sword. This is from Cloudhammer, and this is a meteorite Tachi. This is the one that Uesugi Kenshin was just mentioning it. Do you guys have laws? Yeah, I guess so. Is S5 shock steel good for sword fighting, sparring against both Kenjutsu and Hima? Yeah. S5 shock steel is probably one of the toughest ones you can get. Any Black Lotus S5 by Cloudhammer yet? Vorteca, it's on its way. I think last I looked, it had just landed in New York. However, we're only getting 5 this time, and they're already sold. and we still have another 10 orders to fill. It's absolutely insane how popular the Black Lotus has been. So hopefully we will get those back in stock soon. Oh, let me show you the blade. So here you can see, and once again, this bright light which shines off my forehead. You can also see the interesting patterns inside the steel. It's not exactly like a regular Damascus look to it. So that's one of the really cool things about that. It's a tachi. This is, the fittings are the water dragon, Suiryuken, which is, it's based on a national treasure of Japan. So. I thought I recognized that sword. Sokka ended up losing his space sword in the show. Yeah, I picked it up. You know what I always thought they should do? What I always thought they should do with Sokka's sword. If you've ever seen the movie The Red Violin, they should do a story like that with Sokka's sword, like all the people who find it and then the stories they have before they pass it on. I wish they would do that with Sokka's sword. Air Power Roy, this one is in store. You can find it on our website, rvakatana.com. I usually keep it at home. This is a $2,000 sword, though. What are your thoughts on Chad Diversity turning the Tachi sword handle with a crossguard and European handle? No opinion. His sword, he can do what he wants. So I think I might have one of your swords I got as a gift, and it looks like the one on your site. It could be Giorgio Giovanni. I won't tell you, because if it was a gift. Laws? What laws? Who needs stinking laws, right? This is America. We can have whatever weapons we want. Any more simple wood-handled ones? Yes, we do. I don't have any here because everything in my room is more kind of like gaudy. It's the stuff I like. But at the shop, we have a lot of very plain ones. In fact, if you check our video on TikTok, I recently had one on the Christian sword. Basically, there are a lot of hidden motifs in samurai swords for the Christian samurai. And so our most recent one is a very just plain black, well, not plain, the guard has this old symbol from the old Catholic Church. And then the scabbard is just a very plain wood. So I have a video on that. Let's see. Love the idea of a sword being found by others. Yeah. What's the gem selling for? The Meteorite gem is selling for 2,000. We only got one, but we're talking about getting more. Do you like the Demon Slayer sword design? I'm kind of neutral to it. I guess Tanjiro's sword is pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, so I'm basically showing you, I showed you two $2,000 swords, but you know, in our shop, we start at $70 and go up and up and up and up and up. So now we have two $2,000 swords. I can't wait to get my redeeming light. Is it Wednesday yet? Dan the Man. Yeah, Dan the Man is one of the people who got the plain brown sword with the Christian motifs in it. I didn't even know the Christian motif until there was another sword friend of mine, because he had seen our video on Christian samurai, and he says, you know, your tsuba is that. I'm like, oh wow, I had no idea. So it's kind of exciting. I saw in Blue Eyed Samurai, Mizu was using a sword with really long handle attached. What was that called? That's called a nagamaki or a nagi. Well, I don't know if it was supposed to be a nagamaki or a naginata. The chance of that happening are very, very low. Any experience with Motohara, and how do you rate them quality-wise? This is my Motohara. Motohara is probably the absolute best practitioner grade sword you can get. Just with everything, all the qualities about it. You have a really tight wrap. You have very nice fittings. The scabbard is what is the best, because you shake it, there's absolutely no rattle. This one's not liking the humidity, but technically it shouldn't fall out. No, it's not. The humidity is being nice today, but you know, you give it a little bit of pressure with the thumb, and it does come out. So the Motohara Sasaya is probably like cream of the crop. So Motohara is probably the best practitioner sword you can get. The steel blade, the steel they use in the blade isn't super exciting. It's using SKS. This one's SGT, and they also use SKS3, which are actually the same composition. There's pretty much the same steels. Only one is made in Korea, the other is made in Japan. But what they do really nicely is called it has a Nika bevel. So I don't know if you can see, like you can see my reflection in it, but you can see how there's a curvature towards the end. So this one, the edge is a little buff, and so it gives it more durability. Now that said, you know, Motohara, I happen to get one. I got one on the cheap, which is not cheap, but you're basically going to pay at least $2,500 for a Motohara sword. Personally, I don't think it's worth it, but that's me. I mean, a lot of practitioners swear by them. I think it's cool. It's tons of fun to cut with. but I have had better cutters, and I've had some. I mean, where the fit is, probably 75% is good, and for me that's sufficient. There are a lot of people who like really complain about certain things with a sword. Like Practitioner is the pickiest bunch ever. They're like, oh well, this is doing this. Like the one big argument you see, it kind of drives me nuts. They're kind of like, oh well, there's a ledge here. You can see how actually this one doesn't have a ledge. You kind of has a ledge. They say like, oh, you can see how the Fuji sticks off of it here, and how it bites into your fingers. I'm like, if it's biting into your fingers, that means your hands aren't tough, and that means you probably haven't been practicing sword long enough, because the more you practice the sword, the harder your hands are going to get. So yeah, practitioners are really hard. They kind of drive me nuts. So yeah, Motohara, you're going to get a perfect sword. You're going to pay for it. All right, that was a long answer. I need my taxes. Yeah. Yeah. Citadel is up there with Motohara, but the Imperial is sold out. Says Tengu. John, what sword? What Citadel did you have? Because was it a Bugei or a Citadel that you brought in to show us that one time? Let's see. How long have I been into swords? Selling them for just over 2 years. Let's see. Do you have wood swords for kids? We do have wood swords for kids. We actually have a big sale on Demon Slayer wooden swords. Let's see. The Meteorite material is a hanger, y'all, not for play, or at least I wouldn't. Yeah, I would not mess with a Meteorite sword, just in terms of the polish and everything. I would not mess with it. Let's see. Buy a katana cleaning kit, and there's a tutorial on TikTok. Yeah, a cleaning kit works. I found about Christian Catholic samurai very interesting. Yeah, thank you, Jill. I think that's a pretty interesting story too. Let's see. Let's see. Are there wood swords? Yes. Just look up wooden anime swords, and we do have wooden anime swords. But plain wood swords, yes, are sold out. That reminds me of dowel blade. Got it. I came up with some type of oil on the blade. Should I wipe that off? That keeps it from rusting. So you usually want to keep a layer of oil in your blade to keep it from rusting. Oh, wait. Oh, John, you're on two different things. You're both on TikTok and on YouTube. That's just kind of confusing me. Bugei Dragonfly 120 KC with Bohi. Okay. So yeah, I guess with Bugei, that's K120C. That's definitely a Hanwei forged blade. 120C is a K120C is a powder steel. So love your content. Thank you for educating on Christianity in Japan. I had no idea. I mean, I only know the basics. I thought Scott said they were all gone. Sorry about that. So Cook, those are actually like practitioner wooden swords, as opposed to the anime swords. The anime swords, we have a crap ton of them. My top two cutters are Motohara and a 20th century Nihonto. What's a Kodachi cost? We sell an S5 Kodachi for $450 right now. Oh, let's see. Yeah, the best soft cutter I've ever used is actually Stanton Kendo here. He has the Moritaka L6, like a very long okatana with a koshizori. That thing is like the best soft cutter I've ever used. Then probably Scott's Cloudhammer Dragonfly soft cutter, and then the Motohara. That's probably the number 3 cutter I've ever used. Do you have anything similar to the Honjin Masamune? No. What's a good way to tell a sword is genuine or not? Genuine, like a genuine Japanese sword? It takes experience just looking at the blade. When you look at the blade, you can probably tell. And actually, this is really good with the lighting, and I'll show you. This is a Japanese sword made in Japan, and you can see how the center, that is not the edge and not the spine, but see how that center has that really sparkly gray that's called pear skin. That is one way that you can get this kind of sword elsewhere, but for the most part, Japanese are most of them. I got my first katana this Christmas. It was through your shop. It is the Wood Swirl. Awesome, Emperor. I like the Wood Swirl. I just love the feel of this. Actually, so this silk in my hand here on this tachi just feels amazing. So this is a Gendaito, a modern Japanese sword made in Japan. How sharp is it? I've actually never tested. Japanese swords. Let's take a look. Let us take a look. Not very. Nope, not paper cutting sharp. So it bites into it a little bit, but it's not great. We have a lot more. Not the fanciest type of hamon, but one of my favorites on that tachi. Yeah, this tachi has a really pretty hamon to it. It's kind of a sugaha notare mix. Yeah. But anyway, you can tell like a Japanese sword. Once you're used to seeing them, you can definitely see like Chinese swords, like Chinese made katana. You're like, when you see them, you know for the most part. Now, some Chinese swords are using orishigane, which is using a smelted steel, and it looks a lot like tamahage, so it can confuse some people. Our swords are generally sharp, quite sharp. We do sharpen at the shop. I don't do it myself. Also, actually, over here on YouTube, talk to Samurai Bird. He does an amazing job at sharpening swords. He had a sword that we sent him, and then he put a sharper edge on it. He sent it to somebody else. That person cut with it, then sent it back to us, and that thing was just lasering through things, even after passing through several hands and being used to cut several times. Muramasa was a real swordsmith, yes. And in fact, Muramasa, his swords were famous for they're considered cursed by the Tokugawa family. How much is the full 3-sword set? We actually don't have any in shop right now. What are your experiences with Kogorasumaru in terms of handling and cutting with both front and back blades? The Kogurasu we have used aren't sharpened on the spine. If you think about it, like oftentimes with Japanese swords, when you're doing noto, you are running it, you're bringing it back across your hand here, and if you sharp on both sides, you would slice yourself. So the ones we use are usually not sharpened on the back end. Let's see. Sent you an email on the Dao we've been working out. Okay, cool. I'll look into that. I enjoy your videos. Very informative. Thank you. Yeah, that's in the group. That's what we try to do. We try to inform. We try to educate on swords. We don't have all the answers though, and we will definitely admit when we are wrong. Just because a sword doesn't cut paper doesn't mean it's not super sharp to cut other than paper. This is very true too. I'm trying out TikTok for the dojo, says Stanton Kendo. Okay. Yeah, people follow Stanton Kendo. He is a sword friend of ours. He teaches in the western part of Virginia, and he's helped us a lot help get the shop off the ground. Oops, burping there. If you want to see paper cutting sharp, I always like to show the Osaraku Wakizashi here. It has a really mean-looking blade, and I just love this one, just the way it slices paper. So, oops, I said it. It didn't catch. Here we go. Yeah, and we've cut mats with this as well, and it just goes through mats. It's a beast of a sword. How many styles of hamon do you think there are? Hundreds? Probably. I mean, there are not hundreds of official ones, like classified ones, but there are definitely many types. Plus, there are ones that are making variations. I've been collecting Old English and Scandinavian swords since I was young. That's cool, Jason Roth. Let's see. So yeah, this is the red one. Did your guy at Cloudhammer confirm if they had green silk? Oh, I need to ask him. How durable is Sea Dragon T10 clay tempered katana? Depends on what you're doing with it, Sally, but for basically cutting pool noodles, cutting mats, cutting bamboo, should be totally fine. If you're good. The thing is, it's clay tempered, and so clay tempered swords tend to be less durable than non-clay tempered swords. It's all about blade geometry on the final sharpening. This is very true. I always wanted to get a Japanese love-looking sword. Can you get a blade to be a different color? Yes. Common ones are black, blue, and red. Black ones don't damage, basically the treatment doesn't damage their durability at all, but red and blue tend to soften the blade a little because of the tempering version, how they temper it. Hey, I have one question for you. I bought a katana made with 1060 carbon steel, and I want to know if 1060 is good steel, or if there's better steel for good edge retention. There is better steel for edge retention, but 1060 is good. 1060 is a nice balance between durable and edge retention. Because oftentimes when you get higher edge retention than just from the steel itself, then they tend to be more brittle. Now, there are some alloy steels that do really good jobs of holding edges while still being durable. This one is ASAB 88. John was just mentioning K120C, which is made by ASAB. This is ASAB 88. They basically replaced K120C, which is a powder steel, with this one, which is the ASAB 88. I don't know if you can tell how wide this blade is, but it's a pretty wide blade. Sadly, it came blemished, so I'm waiting to get a replacement blade for it. And this one will become one of my own cutters once I get the replacement blade. Can you get a blade to be a... Oh, I already answered that question. Is there a specific point in length where wakizashi is considered katana? Yes, 24 inches. Or 2 shaku. What is the strongest steel? The strongest steel we use is S5 shock steel. I live in RVA. Come by the shop sometime. Are Cloud Hammer the primary shop that uses S5, or are there other smiths that use it in forging? I don't know anybody else who's using S5 except for Cloud Hammer. The heat treatment process is a very technical thing, and not everybody has the facilities or the know-how to do it. So as far as I know, Cloud Hammer is the only one doing S5. A lot of places are doing S7 now. S7 is about 10% less durable than S5. Honestly, S7 should be totally sufficient for most of what you want to do. Let's see. I believe RVA is the only place. I'm not sure what we're saying, Jill, but I'll say yes. How much is that one? The one I have, the one I was just showing. I guess I was just showing the ASAP 88 Zombie Killer. Once I get a new blade, it'll be like $700 once I get a new blade. My favorite blade is this antique sword. This is made by the Hoju School, a Hoju School smith. It is long at 84 centimeter blade length, or 82.5 centimeter blade length. And it is very curved with a sortie of 3.4 centimeters. And in this lighting, you can really see a lot of the detail compared to my old lights. So I'm really liking this spotlight or the ring light that I got, except for the fact it shines off my forehead and my glasses. But yeah, this is my favorite blade. It is at least 650 years old, and potentially 800 years old. And that is a tachi. Technically should be displayed edge up. That's my baby in your hand. Let's see. What is the lightest katana you have? I'm not even sure. Nagamaki, yes, we do. Go to our website, rvakatana.com, and look for Nagamaki. We also have a wakizashi here. Where is it? This wakizashi was once a Nagamaki. And this thing is about 400 years old, and you can see the shape of the blade. So we can tell that this was once a Nagamaki. I'm assuming it's either a Bizen or a Yamato school because of the narrow tsuba and the tight packing of the skin, but I am not really great at evaluating antique swords. Hi, Angelo. Let's see. I'll never have the Howard Clark, but if I ever give the Bainite a go, it will be the Hanwei Miaodao. So, Chad, the Hanwei, I don't really trust them to do. I mean, it's a Bainite sword, but it's a upper Bainite, not a lower Bainite sword. So Howard Clark's the only person I would trust to do L6, like the tough type of Bainite. So there are two types of Bainite, upper and lower Bainite, and it basically depends on the heat treatment process. And so lower Bainite is what Howard Clark makes, and he's pretty much the only one who can do it. Cloudhammer can do it, but they won't because it just says it's just too expensive. It takes too much time and labor because it is a very drawn out heat treatment process. What do you possibly know about 1942 Tachi on the website? Basically, it was a blade. The dealer said it was a blade that was probably meant to go to an officer's gunto, like a high level officer, because they did use tamahagane. It was a forged sword, but that later it was just turned into a tachi. That's all I know about it. 2.2 shaku is usually considered a katana. What is the cheapest nodachi you have with a smaller handle? It would probably be our Phoenix Arms is $300. Do you have a big collection of artifacts? No. I have a small collection of artifacts. I have noticed that there is one handle wrapping pattern, and I was wondering if there were more styles. There are. I mean, I don't think I have any battle. Oh, yeah. And now that we have the bright lights, I can show you this sword. This is called katatemaki, like a battle wrap. Do all Naginata have tsuba-style guards, or did some have crossbar fittings? I've only seen tsuba-style, but that doesn't mean, just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean anything. What's your favorite katana steel? Depends. Who builds these blades? Various places. Do you have any swords from The Last Samurai? We do not. Is RVA Katana the only place in the USA to purchase S5 from Cloudhammer? Yes, Jill. Oops. Now you can see this blade. People, with the light, you can probably see the folds in the steel better. Check out that bohi. I love this bohi. And then look at that okisaki. I'm actually waiting on a nagamaki with a kisaki that looks like this, like a very long kisaki. So it's supposed to, it's in the United States already. I just don't know when it is going to arrive here, but I'm very much looking forward to it. What's your favorite katana in that room? Does Cloudhammer have a shop? Through us at RVA Katana, yes. Are there heavier and curvier swords that were then there are lighter and straighter sword ones? Was there a period in Japan when these swords were made? Are curvier, heavier swords made for horsemen samurais? Yes. Roughly how long is a shaku? About 12 inches. So about a foot. Yeah, I love big kasaki too. Yeah, my favorite katana in this room, this is my second favorite. This is actually a tachi. It's a tachi blade. And you can see the curvature begins right there. So this is a kogurasu style. This is a slender tachi. Check out the lighting, you can probably see better. It has a rounded spine instead of a triangular spine. This one might be 1,000 years old. So that's probably the reason why I like it the most. Possibly a 1,000-year-old sword. That kisaki, check out the kisaki here. This is the kisaki. And notice it's smaller than one of my digits. So it's a really small sword. What's my favorite cloud hammer? My favorite cloud hammer. Oh, actually with the lighting you can see this one too. I didn't even think about this. This is my favorite cloud hammer. This is called a Ming Dynasty horse tooth lamination. So some people will mistake this as a hamon, but it is not a hamon. You can see the I don't know if you can see the edge and the curved lines. I guess this light really isn't showing it very well. I'm gonna turn it up one notch. Whoa, it's bright. And let's see if you can see the edge. So the edge, it looks like it has a hamon, but it doesn't. That's actually horse tooth lamination. How much for that one? The 1,000-year-old one. It's not for sale. And also, I don't know if it's 1,000 years old. I want to get it evaluated. Okay, cool deal, Jill. Did you bring home the airbender? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Why did Japan stop using straight swords like the chokoto and move to curved swords? It was just more appropriate for horse battles, which was what you were seeing in that era. When you started seeing the curvature, samurai were mounted warriors. And for those of you who missed it, I'll show it again. This is the meteor sword. They actually use meteor. So this is based on Avatar Last Airbender. It even has the White Lotus sect symbol. Were Gunto the same size as Wakizashi? Some were. So yeah, you can see here just like the patterns in the steel are pretty rocking. I know most katanas have bamboo or wooden pins in the handle, except for the oldest that have metal ones. And I was wondering if you had one like that. I do. However, it's a new one. It was actually made made recently, but I can show you an example. So this one has the chrysanthemum mauln in the metal pin. If that were a Tangjian, it would be sold already. Which one, Kenshin? I have a few swords I need you to look at ASAP. Yeah, send me an email, rvakatana@gmail.com. The first sword I ever had was the first sword I ever bought for myself was a true katana, an Atanto, which actually sucked. The Meteor Gen. Oh. So, Kenshin, I am getting a Meteor Gen in the next shipment. Like the Tang Dynasty Tang Dao style. We are getting a Meteor Damascus, and it looks amazing from Cloudhammer. We're just investing a lot in the meteors these days. How about the ones that go into the holes on the tuba? The holes on the tuba. What do you mean about goes into the holes? Do you mean like a kozuka and a kogai? I need to get this kake fixed. I have one sword like that, which is a tanto. And so, yeah, this is the kozuka. What kind of tachi is that? The last tachi is kazari or no, sorry, an efutachi. It's called an efutachi. Yes, we do sell katana. Go to our website, rvakatana.com. We sell tons of katana. Yeah. So you can see the hole in the tsuba there. Can you show the step-by-step on how to tie a sageo video? Mr. Plan, keep on telling me, and we'll eventually get to it. But you can find them. You can find them on YouTube and everything. It is. I am not particularly good at it because I have really thick, fat fingers. So Scott does it better than I do, and I prefer doing the butterfly type. The swordsmithing scene here in Japan is declining. Yeah, interest in swords in Japan has declined quite a bit. So therefore, the interest in smithing. There are very tight regulations on swordsmithing in Japan as well. Favorite sword here? That would be this one. This is sort of my treasure. A tachi is a very long, very curved tachi. So I'm going to put this on my midline, and you can see how far it curves off to the side. It's a really pretty pattern, hara pattern. John, any idea when you might get the Ninja Gaiden Damascus back in? Supposed to be soon. I was thinking about training with my sword, and I have seen some YouTube videos on it, but I shouldn't know if it would be advisable to self-train or to find someone to teach you. Always better to have someone to teach you. I know 2 in my prefecture, 1 being from my family. That's amazing. That is really cool. Let's see, my eyes are so bad and the lighting and the contrast are killing me, but we are hotaru, as in a firefly, or dragonfly, or firefly? Hotaru? Are you Japanese hotaru? My kashu curves more. Just rub it in, Steve, just rub it in. But yes, Discord is back to level 3, so you should be able to have permanent link on TikTok. Sageo vid there. I sent a video of the swords. They aren't katana. Oh, I might not be able to help you with that. Do you think laws in Japan will ever become more lenient about swords? Probably not. William, I am training myself. It's not hard. I am looking for a master. Stupid, funny question, John. Was there ever a time when you and your wife argued and started pulling katanas? No, absolutely not. She hates swords. It's just not profitable for most smiths. Yeah. Why I am, yes. Oh, okay. What prefecture do you live in? Hotaru. Yeah. We do have Michonne's katana at my shop. I don't have it here. If you go to rvakatana@gmail.com, I'm sorry, rvakatana.com and look up Michonne. Yeah. Osaka. Ah. Mokatte makka? まあ、妻も大阪で大学行ったけど、ほとんどここで大阪弁喋るや。It was just a thought. Yeah, I remember actually when I was taking Japan, Jill, where they were talking about kanji. We were talking about kanji, and they said at the time there was discussion about let's stop using kanji, and then people thought it was going to happen the next day, and they were like, "Does that mean we don't have to learn kanji?" It's so funny. Is Michonne a Japanese name? I don't think so. I've never watched The Walking Dead. I believe they old Irish swordsmiths to the one in Braveheart. Okay. Export market is where it is at, but for smiths low rank or not well known, it is a struggle. Paul Martin is trying to help with providing some of these smiths. Yeah, I feel for them, and I'm pretty bad because I don't think I would ever buy a Shinsakuto. I mean, it's just zero interest on my part. Hey, Mara. I know of foreign swordsmith friends with tubas made from horns of a buffalo. Oh, cool deal. 4K plus for mounted sword when there is Motohara and Citadel and smiths elsewhere, it makes it even more difficult. Yeah, that's the problem with a Shinsakuto that is a modern made Japanese sword, is that you're still working with tamahagane, which isn't great steel. So it's like if I'm gonna get a Japanese, like if I'm getting a tamahagane sword, or if I'm getting a sword to cut with, it's not gonna be a tamahagane sword. Why get that when I can pay a lot less for something made of like S5 even? And if it's going for the artwork, then I'd rather buy something for $4,000. I can buy like a 500-year-old sword. So, can you deflect a bullet with a katana if you're fast enough? I mean, I've seen there are people who will shoot at katana blades and show how the katana blade can split the bullet. So, but can you do it? Probably not. Is Carter Cutler legitimately quality Japanese steel-made knives? I have no idea. Never heard of them. Thanks for being so interactive. Talk to you shortly. Sure thing. Are there some katanas that are particularly smooth on the backside for pushing with the free hand? Well, the spine usually isn't sharp at all. So there are different types. There's called Ioremune, which is the more common one, which is the spine looks a little bit like that. There's called Mitsumune, which is like kind of a triangle. And there's Marumune, which is round, but that's pretty round. That's pretty rare to see a Marumune. Yeah. John, MN65, 65MN versus 9260. What's your thoughts? 9260 is superior in terms of durability and edge retention compared to 65MN. 65MN being a Chinese steel, you also deal with like inconsistencies. So, for example, 65MN is very similar to 1566. So, if you had a choice between 65MN and 1566, and price wasn't a factor, then I would go for 1566. It's not to say 65MN is bad. It's good. It's a good steel, but it's just not as consistent as like Western steels. I myself use an Odachi because it's great for tall people. And I'm a big fan of Odachi. Do you have any mono tempered swords? Mono steel swords? What kind of mono are we talking about? Mononucleosis? Hopefully not. What's your favorite handle for wrap for comfort? I don't really even care. I think a lot of people make a big deal about like the wraps and the transitions. I've been practicing martial arts for so long. I have pretty tough palms. I really don't even notice. No, I have to say that Japanese tachi over there, it has like the softest wrap ever. Ambu says, "Konban wa o genki desu ka?" Yeah, pretty much so. Oh, what you said about the back of the blade. Oh, any mono. Oh, maru. You mean rounded maru? I do have a maru. I have one, but we don't sell them. That's just one of my personals. Who would win, a knight or a samurai? Depends who trained harder. Who has more experience? Where do you source your antique katanas from? I'm debating looking at getting one for the future. Weren't there swords made of Manchurian steel? Yes. During World War II, there was the mantetsu made by Manchurian steel. Just work out with that two-handed jian. Yeah. Can you tell by the kanji signature on the tang that Nihontos are counterfeit ones? I had a Nihonto with documents, but my sensei thinks the signature is fake. He says you can tell by the kanji. You can tell by the handwriting. You basically compare it to other examples. I'm not good at that, so I couldn't tell you. If it had documents, it depends on what documents. If it's a kanteisho from MBTHK, especially like newer ones, then I think it's usually pretty reliable. Okay, it is 9:49, so I'm probably going to I'm sorry, John Smicka just sent me a message. He's Tengu over here on YouTube and Stanton Iaido Kendo here on TikTok. He told me that the YouTube runs 7 seconds behind the TikTok. That's good to know. Do you think using nuclear weapons in World War II was justified? That's a big question. I'd say, at least me personally, I think the first one, sure. The second one, it's like, you've already demonstrated it. Did you really need to use the second one? I mean, they did worse to Germany. I mean, in Dresden, in terms of just the sheer number of people killed. So, I mean, I don't think it's a debate you could win with somebody who is on the other side. You're never going to convince somebody who thinks one way or the other. Watching from Atlanta, Georgia, have you ever practiced Shukenjutsu? Please forgive the random question, but Shukenjutsu is my martial arts guilty pleasure. No, I have not. Okay, I am going to shut down, but good night, everybody. And we'll be live from the shop tomorrow, probably around 10:30 Eastern time in the morning. So a lot more swords there. Definitely can see a lot more. We got some new ones in, some new swords from Heaven and Earth that look great. So yeah, and also check out our website, rvakatana.com, and go to our Discord, discord.gg/RVA Katana. All right. See you guys later. And